Since the beginning of the session. Which one would it be? Yes, Cody.
Floating support.
Is Cody right? Do you agree? Yes! So you can cross it out. What did you see us doing? How did you know it was floating support? Yes.
Because you're moving around and supporting us.
Yep. Okay, both of us, right? Yeah.
What are we trying to get? Like across, down?
Good question. We're going to play four corners first. What are some possible pros and cons with float and support as a model? Yeah.
Is one of you and more than one of them?
Meaning?
Oh, so it's so. Okay, well, I guess there are two right now.
Right,
There
let's
are
go
more students than there are teachers, so not every single
True. Way back.
Sometimes it can be distracting, so the second teacher distracts the students.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't amount of interaction, but it could undermine the main teachers.
Yes, it could.
The students not paying attention could be going off task.
Okay. And what for some positives? Do you give another negative?
Yeah.
Con? Go ahead.
You can miss some of the students that you don't get a chance to talk to during that specific time.
Yeah. And you're not gonna have a class with like 100 kids in it, like right now. So this is obviously not like a real model.
To make it easier.
You can't get to the like center of the laptop, like over in there, when you get in there.
Go ahead, John.
To make it easier to manage behavioral issues, you do like a main teacher and one floating around the room that can kind of like put a hand on people's shoulders and stuff.
That's more eyes. Okay. So you want to add one more thing?
Okay.
Are you sure?
Well, I was going to say it would be really helpful if you had students need extra counseling and the teacher could go help them while you're giving them whole group instruction.
Right. That might be coming. That's another one. Yeah. Okay. So throughout the session, there'll be little visuals for theme, and we'll debrief the strategy. So going back to the law ensures that all students, and really means all, students with disabilities, there's a zero reject clause in the law, receive a free appropriate education in this restrictive environment. Federal law dictates timelines and procedural guidelines, and then states will interpret that and have their own regs. So that's why, like, I'm not going to go really specific because some of you are going to know about it, and it's not going to apply. I can talk about California. If at any point you have questions, feel free to ask. Camille's also an experienced special educator, so we're ready to do this. So, Camille, you're on.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oops. I
No, go ahead.
So the federal law currently right now identifies 13 disability categories. Again, this is like acronym overload, but I wanted you to have this knowledge of the 13 disabilities that are recognized by federal law to qualify for an IEP.
Can I just chime in? Like, what I would recommend too, and Carolyn, feel free to also chime in, is that when I was a general educator and I had to attend meetings, I would often have like no clue of what was going on. Like, it really felt like they were speaking a foreign language. I didn't even like know how to look at an IEP, like what should I be looking for. And so one thing that I would encourage you all to do is that when you have an opportunity to look at, familiarize yourself with your students' IEPs, is just to do some research on their disability category and just to learn some basic facts and also like strategies for supporting. Because if I had known how to do that off the top when I first started teaching, I probably could have served students a lot more effectively.
And I'm just going to push back on that in terms of labels. Here's my soapbox. Are more than their label. So yes, we want to research the disability category, but like autism spectrum disorders, like it's a continuum. You can't make assumptions just based on a label that a certain kid has. Okay? So just keep that in mind. So we are going to talk about the continuum of support services that you find in special education.
Yeah, I don't think I need the clicker.
Okay.
So I think this visual is really good when we think about least restrictive environment. As you can see, as we go up the continuum from the bottom, the environment becomes a lot more restrictive. There's gonna be a lot of things. Just so that you know. So at the very bottom, if you can see that it's the regular class with modifications, or just the regular class. That's where we want most of our students to be. So, side note, one thing about me is that I think you all know me pretty well. I have a hard time figuring out like other things. I'm very easily distracted. And so which can pose like kind of a challenge to me when I'm teaching in the same classroom. Two different things are going on. There's a question like what kind of teaching is there? That's right. Do you speak up? Oh, goodness. Okay. You know I don't like to be front and center. Yes. Is it parallel teaching? Is it parallel teaching going on right now? Do you all agree? Who disagrees? Why do you disagree? Yeah. So let me explain the difference, right? So parallel teaching is like we would take pretty much the same amount of students, but we would be doing the exact same thing just to make it smaller. Where alternative teaching is like we're splitting the students, maybe the numbers different, maybe they're the same, but we're like giving alternative approaches to what we're so I'm not going to tell you, but that's the rationale that I'm going to give you. Hopefully that's clear. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. Oh, I didn't say what it was. No, who said that? No, I was saying that parallel would be like we're doing the same thing, like parallel and alternate. We're doing different things at the same time. That's a song. If you think you know what it is, and you, yeah.
So how do you see one of these going on?
Yeah, but I love how people are asking questions and naming it for the group, because I think that's really helpful. Because if you're like me, you might forget that we're supposed to be looking for the different models, and it might be happening and you might not recognize it. I would answer questions about the model. But no, I want you to chime in. So this is where I'm really trying to talk. Can you all hear me? Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Okay. So we want, like, when we're talking about students in special education and the services they get, like, we want it to be the most inclusive environment and the least restrictive environment. And as you can see, as you go up the spectrum, it is more restrictive. So I'm thinking about that very, very top level, and I want you to just look at all the levels and imagine, like, what type of scenario could that be? So if I'm looking at the very top one, I'm thinking about my friend's son, who is really sick. He is dealing with an illness where his immune system is very compromised. So he actually cannot go into the school environment because it really compromises his health. So he's at home and he has someone that comes in and essentially homeschools him. He also is not very mobile right now. So he was in the hospital and then he transitioned to home. They kind of got him set up at home. Yeah.
Sorry to distract from your discussion, but the game. So if we think,
I love it. You all incentives, right?
if we think we spot something in your teaching methods, we mark it down, and if we get 2, we say bingo.
What is
You have to debrief it. So we don't want your answer yet.
Okay.
Like, every we'll stop to the slide, name it, keep the the market, then we'll move on.
Thank you for clarifying. I love the motivation. Okay. I'd say one more. I'm gonna say one more thing about this, and then give Melissa an opportunity to chime in, or Carolyn. I keep putting Carolyn on the spot because she has so many like great ideas about fit. I would say the way that this plays out in school, right, is that we have, or at least in my experience, I'm gonna speak from the I, is that when we have like really challenging students, sometimes teachers will try to like move our students up on the spectrum. So like a placement will often become part of the discussion. Like, is this the right place for this student? And so the reason I'm saying that to you as general educators, or us as general educators, we really have the power to advocate and say that like, if we really think about this, can we create the type of environment within the general ed setting that can really support students and keep them in the least restrictive environment? Did you want to chime in on that, Elizabeth?
I would like the people in the back that I was working with, will you briefly describe what we did for the group?
We talked about the continuum of services and what the LRE was, given the different options, so we worked on sorting it, and we came up with like that. Right.
So now, is for David,
Yeah.
maybe market. So what is that?
Focus.
Turn
Focus on work.
it